Excuse me. Hello, my Aloha tribe. Welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. I am a bit discombobulated this morning. Right? All the things. But yeah, I was doing something this morning and I totally lost track of time. So, all right, I'm going to look it up. Today, yesterday we talked about body positivity, or actually just loving your body and self-love and all those wonderful things. But today we're going to talk about, other stuff that goes along with that, like body neutrality versus what some consider to be toxic body positivity. So let's get this pulled up. Good morning, Muddy. Excuse me. Come on. I know. I'm so sorry. Welcome to real time. Real time with Shelly Marie. Sorry, my computer is so slow right now. I think it's me because my energy is just like, ah. So anyway, all right, let me see if I can get this pulled up. It was a very fascinating take on both, but I want to read it as it was written because I think that would be more helpful in the long run. And of course, it's taking forever to pull up, but who's surprised, right? Here we go. Nope. Here we go. Alrighty. Got it. Okay. Good morning, older sibling. Good morning, cousin Jeannie. Okay, what is body neutrality? So, I'm just going to read it right off of here and then we'll talk about it. The concept of body neutrality encourages the mindset that a person's bodily appearance and attitude towards it should have the least possible effect on their experience of life. Its proponents assert that people should neither be celebrated for their conformance with an ideal or bodily beauty, nor criticized for departure from such a condition. It may be contrasted with body positivity, the fat acceptance movement, lookism, and body shaming. Some explanations of the concept emphasize a body's functionality over its aesthetics. So, as the term suggests, body neutrality offers a middle way between the attitudes of body negativity present in lookism and body shaming, and the all-accepting approach found in body positivity and the fat acceptance movement. So, avoiding, avoiding toxic body positivity. The psychologist Susan Albers notes that the difference between body neutrality and body positivity is that with body neutrality, your value is not tied to your body, nor does your happiness depend on what you look like. A body positive approach says you are beautiful no matter what, period. She explains that the affirmations required in adopting body positivity may feel inauthentic. With regard to body positivity, researchers Lisa Legault and Anise Sago argue that an undue emphasis on body positivity can stifle and diminish important negative feelings. They explain that negative feelings are a natural part of the human experience and that such feelings can be important and informational. They say ignoring negative feelings and experiences exerts a cost to authenticity and self-integration. The body positivity movement, they argue, can make it seem like a person should only feel positive emotions. This expectation to have only positive feelings is sometimes called toxic body positivity. That's also where they call toxic positivity, right? Which is the same general idea, but we'll get into that in a second. Development of body neutrality. Body image is a person's perception of their physical self and their thoughts and feelings, positive and negative, as a result of that perception. With societal pressures, especially pressures linked to social media, impacting people's mental health due to body insecurity, body positivity might be challenging. Body neutrality seeks to lessen the relationship between a person's health and well-being to their physical appearance. Since its emergence around 2015, body neutrality has offered some hope even for those who struggle to find any positive attitudes towards their physical self. Experimental studies indicate that even brief exposure to body neutrality content on social media can have beneficial psychological effects, improving body satisfaction and overall mood. Adopters of body neutrality. Amongst body neutrality's better known adherents is Erin Chambers, a TikTok creator who has practiced body neutrality for multiple years. She spoke out to her online audience stating, "I don't want to hate my body, but I don't feel like a goddess either." She pushes for the idea to recognize what your body can do rather than the way it looks. Similarly, Bethany C. Myers is another major online presence advocating for body neutrality. Myers, who is queer identifying, has dedicated their life to exploring themselves and what it means to love themselves and others. They created the project Become to encourage confidence without intimidation through their own transparency. So, all right, let's talk about this, because I think there's a lot of positive and negatives in both of these. I think if you got all these people into the same room, they could come up with something that was really the perfect ideal. But everyone seems, in my opinion, and please let me know if you think I'm wrong or if I'm maybe taking this in the wrong direction, but I feel like they're, everybody's heading off in different directions, and that if they all came into the same room, they could come up with something that would be extremely helpful across the board. Like if they all collabed, right? If they did the collab, as the kids say, if they all collaborated on, something that included, body positivity, body neutrality, body transparency, and removing, the stigma on, the body image itself, with people body shaming and whatnot. Because here's the thing. We can body shame ourselves, back, front, forward, sideways, up, down, whatever. But we will improve that. If you figure out how to do self-love, if you figure out whether you go down the body positivity route, whether you go down the body neutrality route, the body transparency, there is always going to be somebody out there or some entity out there that is going to make you feel like you were not enough. And I think a lot of times we forget this. We forget about the outside voices. We're so busy focusing on our inside voices and trying to make ourselves love ourselves that we forget about the outside voices. Now, people will argue that if you have the proper amount of self-love, if you are confident in yourself, if you are feeling great, those voices aren't going to matter. And that is probably correct almost all of the time. Almost all of the time. If you're having a bad day and all reason is out the window, if you have a dinged up mental health, if you have struggled with something in the past, or if you've struggled with an eating disorder, if you struggled with trauma, if you struggled with anything that has affected the way you perceive your body, and you have a bad day, somebody's comment could hit you sideways, and it could push your progress backwards, especially if you're right in the middle of learning all these things. I do like the idea of body neutrality. I think it's great but I don't think that, in my personal opinion, because body positivity and apparently a version of body neutrality that I didn't even know existed, but I have been practicing, has helped me along the way with learning how to love my body. I don't think body positivity removes the idea of your feelings. I don't. I think that is going to be an individual thing. See, if an individual just goes online and Googles a bunch of stuff about how to be body positive, or they just Google different they're going to find different memes. There's a meme that shows a girl, there's two boxes, all right? One side, she's a little bit thicker. One side, she's thinner. And in the thicker side, she says, well, if I just lose weight, I'll feel better. And then they show her thinner, and she's like, that wasn't it. So that could be considered body neutrality, because, she's focusing so much on her body that she's not thinking about anything else. I think affirmations can help switch our minds. But I also think that, I think they help. And like I said, if you put body neutrality, you put body positivity together, you put body transparency together, they form something beautiful that I think can help the average person who is going to Google you know, figure this out. A lot of what I had to figure out, I had to do in therapy. But there were underlying issues that caused the body negativity, that caused the emotional eating, that caused the I hate myself whether I was thick or thin. I mean, it's only been in the last couple of years that I've loved myself. And it was when I was at the heaviest I've ever been. When I was 115 pounds, I absolutely hated myself. I hated my body. I thought that being with somebody, who wanted to be with me physically was what love was. My mind was messed up. My thinking was, going in the wrong direction. And I had to learn, I had to break down everything and relearn everything from scratch. It's like taking a puzzle that has had a bunch of different pieces. It looks almost right, but you can see there are pieces in there that are not correct. And then you have to take it apart and you hope that you don't break those pieces that were put in the wrong place. And, and then you have to kind of put it back together. And as you know, sometimes when you have those flimsy puzzles, if you put it in the wrong place, it might bend a little, and that's okay. Because if you've been through stuff in your life and you're trying to get your mind and, your heart and your soul back on track, you might have those little bends and those little kinks in yourself. And that's okay. Those emotional scars, they are who are making you you. They are the things that you were building your foundation on, and they can be strong no matter how painful it was, because you are showing that you have overcome something so traumatic across the board, whatever it is that has brought you to the place where you hate your body. Maybe you grew up chunky and people always made fun of you, right? Chunky's probably the worst word to use, but I'm making a point here. Because I knew kids who grew up a little on the heavier side, and I saw the kids who would make fun of them, and I hated that. I absolutely hated that because I got bullied. So it's kind of like, are you okay? And, I think a lot of times it goes in a different direction. I had a friend once who, was just, she grew up a little on the heavier side. And so when she became an adult, it was just an obsession to stay skinny. And because that's what, and it was, I didn't really understand body positivity back then or body neutrality back then because I struggled with my own body image, clearly. But I was just asking her, I said, she's like, well, I ate that burger yesterday, so now I got to work out for 2 hours. And it's like, okay. And then she told me her story and she's like, yeah, I just don't want to be there again. And I think if I had known what I know now, we probably could have sat down and talked and, just said, hey, you know what? That was you then. You are where you want to be now. You're not a kid anymore. Those people can't hurt you. And I think that's what we need to teach people is that, sorry, this straight hair right here is just... I have a rogue snake. But I think one of the things we need to teach people that are going on a body positivity or body neutrality or body transparent or just going on a body journey, all right? So I don't have to keep repeating all those. People that are going on a self-love body journey, I think what we need to teach them is what the one big saying, right? The one older sibling tells me all the time. What other people think of you is none of your business. And that is absolutely 100% true. What other people think of you is none of your business. Let them be haters. Let them be negative. They clearly have stuff wrong in their life if they have nothing better to do than to bully you and pick on you, including if you're somebody they don't even know. They're probably so insecure in their own body that they're projecting their fear. And you don't need to be a part of that. That's their issue. That's their problem. You just need to, again, keep your eyes on your own paper. You worry about you. If you're on the thicker side and you love your body, don't let people shame you out of that. Own it. Own it. If you're a thicker person and you're trying to, get healthy for whatever reason you're trying to get healthy for, own it. Don't just lose the weight so you can look cute and think that's what everybody wants. Do it for you, nobody else. That's like any addiction, right? Any addiction. You have to do it for yourself or it's not going to work. I'll use case in point. I've talked about this before with my dad and his smoking. My dad quit smoking, how old am I? Like 31 years ago. Okay. And he had been smoking since he was like, I think 19. So he smoked for almost 30 years. And, or something like that. I can't really remember. I think it was about 30 years. And I mean, he was like, you know, a lot of times it would just sit there, right? I think, I think the cigarette smoked itself more than he did, but it was still there. And it became a habit. And because it was nicotine, it became an addiction. And that's okay. I'm not saying anything about smokers. You want to smoke, you smoke. I am all for your rights. But I'm using this as an example because it was something that particularly affected my dad. And of course, you know, he's my dad. So he tried so many times to quit smoking. You know, he tried quitting smoking because of me and my heart. He tried quitting smoking for my mom and then me again. And every single time he got this close to not starting again, but then one little stressful moment and poof, the urge became too much. So finally he took a class. They all went outside, smoked their last cigarette together. Then in like, I think a month, they were supposed to check up on each other, you know, see how everyone was going. Out of all the people in his class, there were only 2 of them, my dad included, that had not started smoking again. And this included like, you know, the classes, this included the patch, you know, I mean, they had to go through like a 4-week class before they got the patches. And then, you know, it slowly weaned off. But then the next problem he had was holding things. He either needed something in his mouth, so he started chewing gum and eating candy, so he started gaining weight, or he needed something in his hand because he was so used to having that in his hand. And, you know, so, you know, the addiction wasn't just getting rid of the nicotine, it was getting rid of all the little habits that surrounded it. Now, he quit 31 years ago and he has not started back up again. So kudos to him. Okay. Bravo. And that's his choice. But it's like with other addictions, you know, when you have an addict, whether it's food, alcohol, drugs, I don't know why that one slipped my mind. You know, these things, they take time, but you have to do it for yourself. I kept trying to lose weight for everybody. When I finally decided I need to do this for me, because if I don't, I'm going to die. And I might have done it a little bit for baby sibling, because baby sibling called me one day and she's all, I had the worst premonition. And this is at the time when I had to admit to her, because I was actually calling her for a reason. I was calling her to tell her, you know what? I've been trying to eat myself to death. I found a way around the I will never self-harm again. And I was eating it instead. And she's like, I know. And she's all, I just had a horrible premonition that, you know, that you just had a heart attack and died. And that kind of put me in like a, kind of a place. And she's all, and she just started crying. She's like, I don't want you to die. She's like, you can't die. Ever. Yeah, good luck with that part. But no, but seriously, she's like, I don't want you to die. She's like, you can't die. And it really affected her. And as it affected her, it started affecting me, because then it kind of made me nervous. And I'm like, ooh, you know, I really gotta get this together. I gotta get this, you know, I gotta get it together. And so I did. And it's been slow. It's been a slow process. It's been a very slow process. I'm sure if I exercised a little bit more, it probably wouldn't be such a slow process, because when I was swimming all summer long, I was losing weight, but then it got cold. So that's my excuse. But like I said, I actually did my exercises yesterday. Now, this isn't about losing weight. It's about, for me, like I said, it's about getting healthy. And I think a little bit, I have to admit, there's a little bit of part of me that's a bit vain, because there are cute clothes I just want to be able to wear that I own, that, you know, I just want to fit into again, that I really adore, that just kind of really fit my awkward style. And, well, it's not awkward to me, but it might be awkward to other people. But I think the reason I wanted to read this was because it felt like they were dismissing body positivity. Now, anybody watching this, I don't want you to think, oh, well, am I doing this wrong? Or, poo to them on the body neutrality. Try to adopt both into your life. If you're a person who just goes with the toxic positivity, and there is a thing as toxic positivity, toxic positivity is basically not acknowledging the negative emotions that you might be having. It's pushing it down. That doesn't work. We've talked about this a million times. It's like a jack in a box. You're going to spin and spin or turn and turn and turn and turn and turn until boom, it just pops up and it splatters everywhere. And you don't want it to splatter on anybody, okay? I've been there, I've done that. It's not fun, it's not pretty. You carry that guilt and that shame for a long time. And that guilt and that shame, that's going to add to that negative body issue, because that's just going to add to your self-hate. And the whole point of this exercise and these last two shows isn't just about body positivity. It is about pure self-love. Period. Pure self-love. It is about looking at yourself in the mirror, not your body, not anything, you, and saying, you know what? You belong here. You're amazing. You're awesome. And if you're not feeling it, go journal about it. Go journal about it. There's something I want to read. My cousin got me this great journal. I love it. A journal to unfuck your life, exhale the bullshit, and love who you are. Okay. She got this for me for Christmas. So I decided, because it does have days, it has, and by days I mean, date, blah, 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 that I'm going to do this when I'm having a bad day. So, because, I journal every day anyways, but I don't want to just use this journal and, not, and then just go through it and it doesn't mean anything. So I thought, when I'm having a bad day, this is my go-to. Yes, I will still journal in there in my regular journaling, but this will be my go-to. But what I loved and what kind of inspired this, aside from the conversation I had with somebody who just was having a really hard time with their body, with having some body issues, was this page. This is just the second day in this book. And it says, love your body. Write down 5 things you love about your body and why you are grateful for them. Now, what I loved at the top was this. No one is going to stand up at your funeral and say she had a small waist and a great thigh gap. Again, no one is going to stand up at your funeral and say she had a small waist and a great thigh gap. No, they're not. They're going to talk about the person that you are. They're going to talk about everything that brought them joy that you did. The wonderful things you spread throughout your life. The gifts that you brought to other people, the joy that you may have brought to other people. They're not going to talk about how skinny you were. They're not going to talk about if you were thicker or thinner. And I think that's how we need to remember ourselves. No one's going to care about the small waist or the thigh gap, the excellent thigh gap when you're dead. We have to decide, what legacy we want to leave. And sure, it sounds like I'm talking about like, oh my God, I'm going to die tomorrow. No day is a promise, right? But my point is, and I'm not trying to scare people, but what I'm trying to do is show each and every one of us that we matter. We are enough. And, if you mix the body positivity and the body neutrality together, I think they could work as a beautiful team. Because body neutrality is right. You have to acknowledge the negative feelings. You have to heal these icky bits of yourself that might be pulling down your self-love, that might be keeping you from your self-love. And if you don't acknowledge those parts, if you don't ask yourself why, then, you know, it does become toxic body positivity, because you're not dealing with the whys. You're not dealing with the how can I, change my mindset on this. When you look at yourself and you see a picture and you feel, oh my God, I'm so fat. But are you smiling? Are you happy in that photo? One of the most profound things that was said to me when I really started, I was already on my self-love journey, but, I was heavier than I am now. But one of my friends saw my picture on Facebook and she's all, oh, Shell, I love this picture. Your smile meets your eyes. And I hadn't thought about that. I never thought about that. I spent so many years doing the fake it till you make it that I never thought about that. I never thought about the fact that my smile didn't meet my eyes. And, I was just kind of like, oh. She didn't say anything about the weight. She saw this. And that really kind of hit me sideways. That hit me square in the eyes. Like, whoa. And that comment changed a lot of how I started to think and feel. And I think that's what we need to do for ourselves. If you have the positive affirmations, that's great. But don't forget to acknowledge those negative feelings that you might be having. We're going to have them. Even when you develop full self-love, you're going to have days where you just don't feel like you love yourself. We're human. This happens. Maybe it's a bad hair day. Maybe your makeup didn't turn out the way you wanted. Sometimes I put on my makeup and I'm like, and then I look in the mirror and I'm like, holy crap. It's like, you got enough on? As you can see, I'm a bit of a minimalist when it comes to that. I mean, yeah, I like to do the eyeliner and I like to do it up heavy sometimes, but sometimes it's like the shiny stuff is like, ooh, okay, whoops, and you tone it down a little bit. And that's just me. That's just me. Other people, poof, they walk out and it's like, great, but I couldn't own that. And so it's just kind of like, you have to do what brings you joy. And I personally like the idea of both of these. I like the idea of body neutrality and I like the idea of body positivity. And like I said, I think if you marry them, they're going to create a beautiful child that is going to be your self-love. Truly. But the first step is to believe in yourself. The first step is to allow yourself to love yourself. It is to practice self-care. It is to remind yourself that you are enough. That is going to be that is one of my favorite affirmations, because it's very neutral. It's not saying you are enough skinny, you are enough thick, you are enough, blonde, you are enough brunette. It's just saying you are enough. You are enough. I have it written on my bathroom mirror at home and here to remind myself that I am enough. And there are days when I don't feel enough. And then I see that and it's like, okay, it cycles back, but I journal and I journal hard. I journal hard, like, I got to get this done, because I got to get it up and out. And that's for me. That may not be everybody. You don't always have to journal everything. I have to journal everything because if I don't, I shove it down. And I can't do that anymore because that doesn't work for me. That it affects my mental health and it affects the way I treat people. And so I need to make sure that when I am not feeling at my shiniest or sparkliest, that I need to reel it in. This is why I haven't done it lately, but this is why I normally do check-ins with myself every day. And I should do like you know what? Thank you. I think you all just inspired me. I'm going to set a morning, noon, and night alarm to do a mental health check-in with myself, because I think that will help me. I think that will help me stay on track. That will help me not lash out a lot, because I still do that from time to time and I hate it because that's not me anymore. But it's still me. On the flip side, it's still me learning how to just kind of navigate difficult situations, even if they're not that difficult. When you're having a bad mental health day, everything might feel difficult. Traffic might feel difficult. You might sit in traffic every single day and be like, yeah, I'm just going to listen to my music, or maybe I'll call some people and, catch up while I'm on my way to work, blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. Or maybe you have downtime and you might feel, bored out of your mind. And it's like, but then you have that one day where it's just like you're agitated and you're just kind of like, you just feel it building. And that's when you really need to check in with yourself. Take those deep breaths. Do the ha breathing, right? 7, 7, 7, 7. 7, 7, 7, 7. 7 in, 7 hold, 7 out, 7 hold. And it can be at your own count. I mean, don't count super fast. Count normal. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or a little bit slower if you want. All right, but that's it. I mean, because we don't want you passing out either. All right, the Aloha Perspective says do not pass out while doing the ha breathing. That would make us feel bad. I don't know why I keep saying well, I say us because I always have my dedicated viewers that pop on who, my supporters. And so we're kind of a we, even though no one said anything for the last 2 days. So, I don't know if anyone just doesn't have anything to say, or maybe it's hitting everyone a little bit differently. I'm not sure, but whatever the case. All right. Whatever the case. We've all gone through these moments, even if they're temporary, of not feeling, at our best, not feeling at our body lovingest. But body positivity, body love, body neutrality, whatever you want to call it, it starts with self-love. Pure and simple. Older sibling, we're here. Yes, I know. And I appreciate that. I do. My cousin, we're good listeners. No, I know. And I appreciate that. You guys really are good listeners. I'll be honest with you. I was hoping for a little bit more, interaction, because I don't know. Because I would say, I don't know if I'm hitting the points correctly, but Sammy, thank you, Muddy. Muddy said you're expressing it perfectly. Okay. Well, thank you. Because I think that was my biggest concern, is that I just really, really wanted to make that point. I really, really wanted to make that point. I wanted people to know that you're enough. If somebody doesn't love you or like you because much, I had the work mode on and something still got through. What the hell? But anyways, okay, let's try this again. If you don't fit somebody's societal idea, you need to rethink that. I'm not saying walk away. I'm not saying, but I think a big conversation definitely needs to be said. Okay. I have had people say horrible things to me, and including people that I know really well. And I think it was meant to I think it was their own fear and their own insecurity, not about themselves, but about me. And then, of course, older or baby sibling having that dream, premonition, whatever you want to call it, about me dying and then crying. And she wasn't the one. I literally had someone say to me once, you're a very pretty person. If you lost weight, you probably wouldn't be single. Yes, somebody said that to me. And it hurt me, because this is somebody I trust, somebody I care about. I'm not going to say who, okay, because that's pretty damaging. But I know this person, and I know that they just worry, and I know they care. And no, it's not anybody that's on right now. So, but yeah, but it hurt. It's like, you're a very beautiful, pretty person, but if you lost weight, you probably wouldn't be single. That still kind of hits me sideways, and yeah, even Sammy's like, whoa. Yeah, it was a whoa moment. And, up until that moment, I was having a great time. I was having a lot of fun. And, I was just kind of like, wow, to have a person in your circle say this, it was kind of But then I thought, you know what? I used that not to lose weight, but to really kind of plug into my self-love and say, but I remember saying back to them, it's like, well, I said, actually, if they can't love me the way I am right now, they don't deserve me how I end up. That was my response. And I was rather proud of myself. And they're like, well, okay. But I'm like, yeah. I said, if somebody can't love me for what who I am right now, then they don't deserve me. They don't deserve who I become. And I have become a different person, not because I've lost weight, but because I've realized it's not just about this. It's about what's in here. It's about what's in here. It's about what my heart is about. This will all change over time. Eventually, I will let my gray hairs do their thing. Not right now. Sorry, that's the one thing I'm vain about is my hair. But I don't know. But yeah. But it really, I was angry at the time. But when I look back at it, I realized, wow, you know what? It didn't destroy me. I had already been working so hard on my self-love by then that even though it hurt, even though it stung, when I talk about it now, it just reminds me how far I've come. Yeah, thank you, Jeannie. Cousin Jeannie says, exactly, it's what's inside. Beauty is within. Beauty is within. And a lot of people miss that. They go for this outer thing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being attracted to somebody, right? I mean, we're mammals, we're humans, we're living, breathing creatures. That's what we do. We attract and then we get to know. But have you ever found that sometimes you find yourself just attracted to people that make you laugh? That make you smile, that bring out the best in you, and then you start to see a whole different side. Or maybe you attract to the outside and they're nothing like you thought they'd be. Just keep yourself open. Go with the flow. Just do your do. That's all we got to do. Just do your do. But if you do struggle with your body image, and like I said, I want to make this very clear. Thick or thin, people struggle with their body image. Thick or thin. And, if you fall into any of those categories that just sum up to body image, then self-love is definitely the route you need to take. Self-love is something you deserve. I want to say that you owe it to yourself, but I know that's hard, and that just puts more pressure on you. So let's put it this way. You are enough. You deserve self-love. You deserve to feel good in the body that you're in, thick or thin. There are things we hate on our bodies. I hate my nose. I legit hate my nose. It is an amalgamation of both of my parents, so that's the only thing I like about it. But I hate my nose. I absolutely hate my nose. But I would never change it because it's mine. It's mine. It's a part of me. It makes this what it is. And just because I don't like it doesn't mean that, I can't learn how to love it, because it is a part of me. It is who I am. So start with something that you love. If you love your hair, then just start your self-love there. If you love your eyes, I love my eyes. I do. I admit the one thing I love about my entire body is my eyes, are my eyes. Start there. But start somewhere. Because if you struggle with self-love, you're struggling with your whole persona, and you deserve better. You deserve to be loved. And it has to start with you. It has to start with you. And I'm just going to throw this in there as my final thought. There are people who are fortunate enough to find people along their journey that help them with their self-love. And I don't mean like me, I have a great support group. Whenever I say, I'll sit there and just randomly blurt out at the TV, I hate my nose. And then older sibling will be, just stop it. You have a cute nose. And we don't miss a beat, right? She's on her side of the living room. I'm on my side of the living room. And then it's like, okay, we don't even look at each other. Just kind of like, stop it. You have a cute nose. And it's just like, but just those random little things, right? But when I say there are some people in this world who get a significant other that will help them through their self-love. And I used to be jealous of that. I did, because I had to do all the work on my own, with, yes, a wonderful support group, but no one to really back up whether, if it would attract somebody or not. And then I realized that was my issue. That was my issue, that, it's like I was going in the wrong direction. But I know other people who have helped other people learn, they're helping people through their self-love and learning how to love themselves. And those are the people who don't have the support group. So it just happens that their significant other is the one helping them through. As for me, I'm very grateful for my support group. And it's not just the girls that are online now. It's the people across the board. My mother's been gone for 11 years. I don't make ugly babies. That will always be my favorite saying. I don't make ugly babies. And she said it like, I don't make ugly babies. She was so mad at me when I'm all like, I'm ugly. I don't make ugly babies. She's all, you better remember that. I don't make ugly babies. I'm like, okay. Okay. Boom. Mic drop. Mic drop per mom. So, but look, all these years later, and I still remember that. And it brings a smile to my face because it was so funny. I mean, it wasn't funny at the time. I mean, I felt kind of, embarrassed because it's like, yeah, I'm questioning my mother. Just like I joked once, right? It's like It's like, yeah, I was born defective. I don't make defective babies. Now that one, I think it just hit her because my mom carried me and I was born with a congenital heart defect, but that wasn't her fault. It just happened. I was meant to have a scar up my chest, right? Kind of like Frankenstein's scar, but in the wrong place. So, although they did put a heart in him, so he probably had one of those. But anyways, I digress. I'm going off topic now. So anyways, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And yeah, please take care of yourselves. I will be back on tomorrow. I have a closing thought for 2025. I wrote it down. I don't remember what I wrote down, so it must have just come from my heart or my brain. I don't know where it came from. But yeah, anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you to everybody who came on. Thank you for your comments. Yeah, Sammy said, I'm always attracted to people who make me laugh. I love that. One of the reasons I might be single is because I love puns, which are also known as dad jokes. I think that might scare potential suitors off, but I can't help it. I make myself laugh, and I'm going to attribute that to being an only child because, you have to be self-entertaining when you're an only kid. So, and you self-entertain in all kinds of ways. Older sibling used to sneak out her window. I used to just make myself laugh. My mom used to buy me joke books and they were all puns. So, I come by it honestly. Okay. But anyways, I'll see everybody back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public under Shelley Marie Lucas on Facebook. You can find me on YouTube, and it branches out to all the other social media. All right. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Jeannie, older sibling, Muddy. Thank you all for popping on. I saw somebody else on here, somebody else's. So thank you as well. And yeah, to everybody who watches this later, thank you as well. And take care of yourselves. All right. Because you are enough.